Boss Up Houston Network. Come get your questions answered. We'll see you then. And remember, lawyer up. Everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. We are here for episode 2 of our second season of Lawyer Up with Steve O. I'm your host, Steve Okoraha. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here with us. And for those that have been watching my past episodes, thank you so much for listening in, tuning in, getting all these nice, juicy nuggets of information and knowledge that hopefully are helping you. We want to be helpful here at Lawyer Up. All we want to do is make sure that we're giving you quality information. And as you can see, I'm in a different location. I am in the offices of Goodman and McGill, and we are doing things remotely because we have a very special guest, but I'm going to get to him in just a second. Just for those that are new, I like to, let everybody know kind of what the show is about. What we want to do is accomplish, every day, giving you information about everyday legal tasks, making sure that you're well equipped to handle some of your biggest issues, avoid legal pitfalls. But this season, we decided to focus more on giving you more information about what's going on in the community, resources that are available to you, and bringing, good quality guests that are able to tell you exactly what's going on in the greater Houston community so that you can be well informed while you're also helping to avoid some of those legal pitfalls that I talked about. So who am I? I'm so glad you asked. My name is Steve Okoraha. Again, I practice law primarily in Harrison, Fort Bend. I practice all over the state of Texas. I do family law. I do business and contracts. I do traffic law. I also do some estate planning and a little bit of immigration and personal injury. So well-versed in a lot of different areas, but I want to make sure that I'm giving you, the viewers, a lot of legal knowledge about a lot of different other areas. So, all right, so let's get into who this special guest is here. This guest is widely known in the Fort Bend County community. He's a deputy for the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Department. And get this, he is also city councilman for the city of Sugar Land. So he's a very big, busy man. We have Mr. William Ferguson. How's it going, Mr. Ferguson?
How are you, sir? So good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I like the hat.
Well, it's a special treat for you today.
Yeah, no, I love it. I've always wanted one of my own, so I think I'm gonna get yours if I can.
There you go. I'll take you. We'll get you one.
All right, perfect. All right, so we have a lot to talk about with Councilman Ferguson, but before we get into that, I'm gonna make you wait a little bit, just a little bit, for these gems of knowledge, and we want to pay some bills and go to commercial break. So we will be right back.
Want to be a boss? You're watching Boss Up Houston Network. It's Boss Up Houston, where we look up, stay up, and boss up.
Welcome back. We are really utilizing technology to the fullest today. We are coming to you live through Zoom. We are remote, doing everything remote. You know, that's how we're doing things in the pandemic now. So we're able to do these live interviews and live shows from anywhere in the world. Hey, you don't know if I'm going to be overseas, you know, or in your backyard. You just never know with the technology that we got. So we are back now, and we are going to start talking about Mr. Ferguson's experience. We're gonna pick his brain a little bit, learn a little bit about law enforcement and the police force. So one of the first things that I wanted to kind of clarify for everybody was the difference in police ranks. So, Mr. Ferguson, what are the differences between sheriff and constable, deputy, state trooper, and all these other terms that we hear? Like, what's the pecking order, and how is that important for us to know?
Well, I like how you said pecking order. The pecking order is really not an issue, and I'll tell you why. Anyone can go to the Code of Criminal Procedure in Texas and look up 2.02, and that will define who peace officers are in Texas. The reason that's important is the list is not this long, the list is this long, and there is no pecking order. There are different assignments that we have daily that are important for people to understand. From most people will see a DPS trooper working traffic and accidents. That's their assignment, even though they have the same police powers as any other peace officer in Texas. You will see a sheriff's deputy working criminal cases, maybe domestic violence, or writing a citation, because that is their assignment. Constables are by nature assigned to civil responsibilities. Maybe you're going through a bankruptcy, maybe there's a foreclosure, maybe there's a divorce, there's property concerns. So all of these peace officers in that long list have different assignments, but they all have the same powers. Gotcha.
Okay. So that's actually a good distinction to make, you know, kind of differences in the types of, you know, cases that they handle. That's very good to remember. But one of the differences that, you know, I've always wondered, because, you know, we're going to talk about, you know, traffic stops in a little bit, but the differences between county police and municipal police, because as you know, when you get a ticket, you can either end up in municipal court or you can end up in the Justice of the Peace Court. So can you tell us the difference and shed some light on that a little bit?
Okay, I can. So if you can imagine an overlap in, for example, Fort Bend County, where the majority of even Missouri City, Sugar Land resides, Katy, Texas, Richmond, Rosenberg, you have multiple cities or municipalities in that county. So if the county officer were to write you a citation for speeding that happened to be in the city of Sugar Land, that would go through a JP's court. However, if a city officer writes you a speeding citation, it would go through their municipal court. So all it is there's an overlay. They all have the same powers. They have different responsibilities. Even though Sugar Land could write a citation outside of Sugar Land, it is rare because that assignment for that officer is within the municipality, if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely. And that makes perfect sense, because I know a lot of people, a lot of clients that I've had, you know, get kind of confused with JP Precinct 1, Place 1 and 2, and you know, why they end up in, you know, Missouri City, you know, municipal court or something. So no, that's a pretty good distinction that I think is important for people to know. You know, just in case they're riding around and they see the different types of police cars, they know what activities they're performing and where their jurisdiction resides. But are there any other distinctions that you think it would be, you know, important for people to know?
Well, on a day-to-day basis, what I wish people would all assume is the simplicity of a peace officer is a peace officer. Yeah. They simply have different assignments. So if you see a municipal police officer, that generally means the county deputies are not going to be working that area. They're going to be working the unincorporated areas of that county. If you see a constable, a deputy for the constable, that deputy will be working his assignment. So that sometimes will be in a municipality working a community that's assigned by that precinct.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that's very, very helpful. Very helpful information. So, okay. All right. Well, now we're going to move into talking about crime during the pandemic. As the pandemic is nothing like we've ever seen before and what we've ever experienced as a community. But most people, don't think of how crime has been affected and whether or not there are new things we have to worry about or an increase in some of the old things that we have to worry about. So, what effects has the pandemic had on crime in general, and what effects has it had on Fort Bend County in particular?
So Fort Bend County, speaking generally here, Fort Bend County has a lot of the similar human issues that we have nationally. And by the way, you said something interesting. You and I have not been through this before, but back in 1918, we had a pandemic. And interestingly enough, if you study history, you will realize, statistically speaking, on crime and other, we had a very similar, and here's what I mean. Traffic enforcement, traffic violations are down 60% during the pandemic. That'll give you an idea. A lot of people were at home. Another example is domestic violence. Domestic violence is up 30% in Fort Bend County. And there's an interesting characteristic of family violence people need to understand. The aggressor in this case likes to isolate his or her victim. So in a case of a pandemic where everyone is home, it is sadly the perfect scenario for family violence. And so we've seen an increase in that while we saw a decrease in property crimes because everyone's at home.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I've definitely heard of the increase in family violence cases, and I'm getting a lot more of those cases now. I mean, it's just terrible, but it really makes you realize how much we value being able to get out of the house and go different places and, go to your favorite bar, let off a little steam, have a couple of drinks, hang out with friends. That social aspect, I think, is what has been lacking. And maybe, I mean, there's a lot of other causes for domestic violence. I don't want to put it on just one thing. But I think that might have something, to do with it. You think that would be kind of what it is?
So Steve, I'm 52 years old. I've been married for 30 years. It's important for us to all understand, speaking of men here, I'm not speaking to women here.
Sure.
Men generally have a sense of pride, and they want to be needed. They want to have an assignment in life. They want to be a part of something that's growing and successful. And when this pandemic, they lose their job, they lose their value in their community, they're not able to provide. Men respond to that differently than one to the other. So all of these issues increase stress. And with women, in my case, my wife, she wants to make sure we're going to be okay financially. And if she and I cannot do that, there's high stress. So there's a lot to family violence, not to justify any of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you've got a good point there. The need for us to feel useful and to be, bringing home the bacon, so to speak, and getting out there and working hard, coming after a long day's work instead of just sitting at home. It's weird for a lot of people, especially, if men are the breadwinners and, it takes a toll on them, mentally and psychologically. So I could imagine that that's a contributing factor to kind of what's going on with that. But that's definitely good to know, especially with the traffic cases kind of going down. I'm still getting a lot of those, but I think I'm actually getting more cases outside of Fort Bend County than inside of Fort Bend County. So it's good to know that at least our fellow county citizens are behaving themselves on the road.
Yes, sir, they are.
Yeah. And just in for crime in general, are people within Fort Bend or anywhere, even in the state of Texas, are we more safe or less safe today as a result of the pandemic? What do you think?
As you speak to crime, I hate to bring this up, but it truly is your position. If you are a victim of family violence, you are not safer. Let's be statistically honest. You're
Yeah.
not safer. If you're a property owner, you're a lot safer.
Yeah.
You can apply this either way, and it really is relative to your situation. And I want to say that you and I, what little I know about you, what little you know about me, I feel safer. I do.
Yeah.
But I am also not bound in a home with someone that is aggressive towards me. And so
True.
you can imagine the fear that a victim of family violence would have, and or watch this, here's something I want to talk about later, the mental health aspect of the pandemic and how
Yeah.
it is affecting our citizens.
Absolutely. No, that's a lot of extra things that are going on that we also need to take into account for. That's very important. It really does depend on your position. Like you said, I do, I have felt safer. I've been at home a lot more. Not a lot's been going on. Things have been pretty peaceful at home. So yeah, it really just depends on your position. So. Okay, well, let's move on to the topic of, like I said before, we wanted to get into, traffic violations. We're going to, talk about kind of what's been going on with that. So what are some of the biggest spots in and around Fort Bend County that are known for high amount of traffic tickets or traffic violations?
So, generally speaking, again, it's a population issue. So
Yeah.
areas like Highway 6, areas like Highway 90, Highway 59, Highway 36, those are always common areas for traffic accidents, for speeding violations, for tons of traffic. That is, again, relative to the flow of traffic. There's not any particular street that I would say you must watch this one particular, not at all. Okay,
Yeah.
it really is general to the population on the roadways.
Okay. And speaking about, some of those traffic violations, traffic accidents, since the pandemic has hit, what has changed about the nature of this? Has one thing gone up, like speeding and, maybe like changing lanes without signaling or any type of violation that has kind of gone down? Like, what has anything really changed, or is it just same old, same old?
Statistically speaking, I don't believe there's been an increase of speeding. I mean, this may be disproved later in time, but I have not seen any statistics that said we've got more people running stop signs or we have more people driving without their seat belts. Or now that could come out later, but it is not a aggressive public number people are seeking at this time.
Okay, gotcha. And in your experience, what with traffic stops, what have been some of the craziest experiences you have? You remember we had for the promo we had Bad Boys by Bob Marley. So it always reminds me of Cops. So I like to add, whenever I get to talk to a police officer, I like to find out kind of what have been the craziest experiences that they've had. So you want to share a couple?
Well, I will tell you one of the funniest excuses for speeding is that a man and woman, they need to go to the restroom. They got to go to the restroom. So they have got to speed to get to the restroom. And usually I'll follow them to the local restroom and I'll let them do their business. And then we'll get on with the traffic, because at the end of the day, we don't want them to have a problem. So there's so many humorous points in exchange, but that is a fun character. I will tell you someone that we all love in our Houston area is Hakeem Olajuwon. One beautiful afternoon, I had the opportunity in a traffic stop to come across Hakeem Olajuwon. And you want to talk about a gentleman of gentlemen. And after we had concluded our business, he walked to his trunk and he pulled out a picture of himself and he signed it for my mother. And I thought, what a gentleman. I mean, this guy is the real thing. So there's a lot of great stories. Some of them you would absolutely love, but you do not probably have time for these fun stories today.
Yeah, I know. And I can go on and on about Hakeem Olajuwon. He's definitely one of my biggest role models growing up. He was the reason I picked up a basketball as a kid.
Wow.
He was, I looked up to him so much. So that's pretty cool that you got to talk to him. Yeah, he really is a good man. I like him a lot. So, okay, well, folks, we have so much more to go through, but we want to give you a little break. Of course, we got to pay some bills as well. So We are going to go to commercial break, and we'll be right back to talk about the city of Sugar Land. Stay tuned.
Devin, did you know Geico is now offering an extra 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies?
Okay.
That's 15% on top of what Geico could already save you. So what are you waiting for? DJ Khaled to be your motivational coach?
Yo, Devin, remember to brush in a circle motion.
Thank you, DJ Khaled.
Tiny circles, Devin. Do another one. Another one.
Is this good?
Put in that work, Devin. Don't give up.
Geico. Save an extra 15% when you switch by October 7th.
Don't play yourself. Hit subscribe to play more great Geico videos. And don't forget to share.
Devin, did you...
Stay up. Where we look up.
Lawyer Up with Steve-O, we have the Honorable Councilman and Deputy Sheriff William Ferguson. We're just, exchanging stories and talking about, previously what we talked about was traffic stops, crime, and getting a lot of his experiences as a police officer, just to let you guys know the perspective on kind of things going on, especially as it relates to the pandemic. But now we are going to talk about more of his roles as a councilman in Sugar Land, and we're just going to talk about Sugar Land in general. For those that don't know, Sugar Land is situated in Fort Bend County. We are talking about Fort Bend County a lot today. So Harris County, we'll get back to you on another episode. But this is all about the inner workings of Fort Bend County. So what most people know about Sugar Land is that it's the jewel of Fort Bend. We know that a lot of the administration of county affairs is in Richmond, but ultimately Sugar Land's growth and progression is responsible for a lot of the high population growth in Fort Bend County, from the parks to Sugar Land Town Center, its affluent neighborhoods. Sugar Land is definitely the place to be. So we want to hear a lot about it. We have a unique perspective with having Councilman Ferguson here. So saying all of this, Councilman, what are some of the benefits of being a citizen of Sugar Land and that the surrounding cities in Fort Bend and Houston may not have?
Well, you're going to make me brag. You know that, right?
Hey, then go right on ahead. That's
Okay,
why
so
we're here.
How many other cities in Texas now have a relationship with the Houston Astros so that their Skeeters are now a AAA team? This is
I know that. Wow.
big deal. And it was announced a few months ago publicly. This is a really big deal for our community, not just because it's sports, because when you think of the economic development opportunities of having such a big name in our town playing baseball, it is a big deal for that whole area. So that is just one thing. Now, at the end of the day, I don't know your situation. I'm married, I have 2 children. When I think, okay, there you go. So when we think of, and I'm going to speak for you for just a moment, I think I'm correct. When we think of where we want to raise our families, we want to raise our children, especially in places that are diverse, not only for reasons of long-term relationships, but also for business. We want our children to be made complete. We want our children to have whole opportunities. We want our children to be safe. Our police truly are second to none. I'm very proud of their behavior. I'm very proud of how they're managed. Our fire is unbelievable. They have met all of their expectations over 2020 and even exceeded those in spite of the pandemic. Our public works, I'll put it to you this way. I had a very wise man tell me one day, we want in Sugar Land, we want our public works to be the Chick-fil-A of public works. And I thought, what a compliment that is, because everyone is served quickly, efficiently, and the same. Everybody is treated the same, and Chick-fil-A rocks, and the City of Sugar Land Public Works rocks in the same way. And I have numbers to prove all of these. And so the list goes on and on.
That's good. And I mean, that is, you know, a big compliment, because I mean, everybody knows that Chick-fil-A is the gold standard of customer service, you know, and that's what makes them stand apart from their competitors. So just to know that, you know, having the Public Works Department in Sugar Land being able to take care of everything at the drop of a dime, that's amazing. That's a testament to how successful the city has been over the years. But there's one thing that we talked about during the last episode that we missed you on. Local attorney Farha Ahmed in our previous episode told us about the voucher program that's going on in Sugar Land and patronizing small businesses. So could you tell us more about those efforts and how successful?
Oh, I would love to, because it's a very unique concept. So what it's named, or its actual name, you know, when you say voucher, it sounds very governmental. And the name of the program is called Sweet Cash. And to date, I believe the last number I've read was we have been able to distribute $206,000 through Sweet Cash, for example. And I want to say there's 37 to 39 businesses involved in this in Sugar Land. For example, you go to one of our restaurants or businesses, while you're there, you buy a gift card for that business. You show that gift card to the city, and the city will send you a matching 20, 40, 60, 80, up to $200 worth of gift cards at another local restaurant. So you may be eating dinner at one location, buy the gift card. So you have this gift card, plus the city sends you to another business in the city. It's fabulous, and it's all part of their forward thinking for the community.
That is amazing. I mean, when I heard that last week, I said I need to pick up my family and move to Sugar Land. I really do. I said that's such a great way to patronize and highlight local businesses, especially the ones that may or may not be suffering. You know, we've had a lot of mom and pops close up, fold up because of the pandemic, but it's such a good way for Sugar Land to say, hey, small businesses, we got your back. You know, we're here to bring more people to you. We're here to make sure that business is flowing and that you're thriving, because we need you guys. And I think that's an excellent program.
It has been very good for our community. Yes, sir.
Good. Okay, and then just the last question to let you brag just a little bit more about Sugar Land is just what's your favorite part about living in Sugar Land?
You know, as it relates to a father, I do feel, to your question earlier, I feel my family safe, and I feel like if there was an emergency, they're going to have the care they need. They're going to have the services they need pretty quickly. And statistically speaking, again, anyone can go to mysugarland.com and see how we really watch response times. We watch the equipment that's moved. We watch how it's prepared for a next event. This is not something ever taken lightly. So I feel good in my community. I feel good that my neighbors are treated the same as I am. And to be candid with you, through this winter storm was reflected that feeling. It has been such a challenge. And if I may give you a number that may cause you to sit back in your chair a little bit, but just speaking for the city of Sugar Land as a whole, the amount of green waste that was picked up, are you familiar with what I'm talking about at all? Green waste, tree branches, grass clippings, bushes. Okay, so here's where I'm going to blow your mind. During Harvey, we picked up about 2,000 cubic yards of solid waste from Harvey. Okay, we knew what a big event that was. Of course. But do you realize that as of just a few days ago, we have picked up over 12,000 cubic yards of green waste.
Wow.
Compared to only 2,000 during Harvey. So that'll tell you the city is responsive. They have worked tirelessly to clean the city up after such an event.
Yeah, that's amazing, and the comparison, because I mean, we all know how bad Harvey was, but we had no idea this winter storm was going to do just as much, if not worse, to our surroundings as than Harvey did. So that's a lot. That is surprising. So okay, well, with talking about a lot of the good things about Sugar Land, we want to just get into a little bit about your perspective as city councilman, and just to shed some light on a little bit of the issues going on in Sugar Land, and maybe some things that need to be improved or rectified. So what are some of the current issues going on in the Sugar Land community?
Okay, I'm going to say this as a dad. You're a dad. You're going to remember this. As I raised my daughter, I expected her to have a very high bar for her mate who she chooses in her life. Very high bar.
Absolutely.
And the reason I wanted you to feel that emotion, okay? The reason I bring that up is the city has set a very high bar, and we're always pushing it up on all of our services. And I think it's important that when we see something maybe as a weakness, it really is a bar raising challenge is what we're doing. So we are always pushing our public service responses. We're always pushing our services. Now, with that said, every city, I do believe every city took quite a hit when you think of our plans and dreams and our vision moving forward, and then COVID comes along and affects the sales tax because the retail sales are way, way down. So all of our plans and visions were kind of shaken. They were stalled for a moment. We found other ways to address what was most important to our businesses and our families. We found ways to do that. But what's great is we have enough planning under our belt that Sugar Land's been strong. We will recover, like every city is our hope, and we will recover even stronger with new businesses, new opportunities, new jobs. And so I would simply say the economic growth, because we're always pushing that bar up, is always a concern. It's always important. How are we managing our undeveloped land? What is our vision? Is it still focused on parks? Is our mobility still up to standard? There are so many pieces. We never rest about that at all.
Yeah. No, you make a good point, and I think that that's a good segue into kind of what I wanted to talk about next with Sugar Land's future, because from me, growing up in Missouri City, I also used to live in Sugar Land as well before I moved to Missouri City, and then now I live in Richmond. I've noticed that Sugar Land is just growing leaps and bounds. I mean, you guys can't keep the people out of the city. They're coming from all parts of the country as well. I mean, most of my friends and people that I know that are outside of Houston or Texas, if they're on the East Coast and I say Sugar Land, they know exactly where I'm talking about. They know that. So what are some of the plans that Sugar Land has to address this, and just plans in the future in general for what Sugar Land has in store for us?
So it's important that everyone understands how these plans happen. We will initially come up with a vision for the city for the future, and then these plans will go through several committees before you will ever even know about them. It's a very powerful system. And so with that said, I want everyone to also understand that the city of Sugar Land is becoming landlocked, if you can imagine. We're butting into Richmond. We've already butted into Houston, Missouri City. So we're becoming landlocked. So we have to do more with what we have. So what you're going to see in the future is a corporate park over where the TDC facilities were. You're going to see an improved airport. You're going to see the plans that are being made for the Astros and the stadium. And you're going to see all of this growth. And just imagine, within it all, we have an airport. I mean, this is so rare to have a city, in this case of 118,000 plus people, to have a municipal airport that is so consistently well managed that it pays for itself. The city
Wow.
or the taxpayers are not having to pay for this beautiful airport, this asset to our community. And so to say, do we need more housing? Do we need more businesses? I would say right now, what we need most of is to get our economy pumping again. Because with everybody limited, whether it was a bar, a restaurant, whatever the business was relatively limited, and we were told to stay home. So it's been a real difficulty, but as all Americans, we will revive this economy and we will continue to push back, and we will be back where we were or better than ever.
Absolutely, absolutely. I definitely know that we're going to get there as a greater Fort Bend County, but it's definitely Sugar Land. I mean, I look at Sugar Land and I see a lot of growth, a lot of good things happening, and I know businesses will bounce back. There's a lot of good stuff happening in Sugar Land. Quick question before we hit another commercial break. Do you see any other neighborhoods getting annexed? I know the neighborhood that you were in, you got annexed to Sugar Land. Do you see any of that coming up?
So Greatwood and New Territory were annexed 2 years ago, I believe, just over 2 years ago. And at this immediate moment, there are no public plans for annexation at this immediate moment. And so things change and things happen. But remember, annexation requires growth. Okay, so when you become locked and your vision doesn't lend itself to annexation, we go back to how do we do better with the space we have, and that's really our focus now. Less about annexation and more about doing better with what we have in place.
No, absolutely. That's definitely a good point. Taking
Steve,
care of.
can I highlight one other thing I think is important for you as well?
Absolutely.
The big, some refer to as the elephant in the room is the Brazos River. It affects us all. And so the city of Sugar Land is on the forefront of making certain that the Brazos River is going to be maintained in a livable way for all of our communities. And I don't know how far you live from the Brazos River in Richmond, but that river is a rascal. And we certainly, for the safety and the growth and the security of our city, we are on the forefront of how do we manage and improve, with the help of the feds, the state, and all the other groups, how do we manage this river better and our development? So all of that fits into your idea of, are you going to annex more? Well, we got to manage all this elephant in the room, because you don't want to put houses and businesses along a river that is not been made comfortable to dwell next to. And so there's a lot of factors here.
There are, and that environmental aspect is a very big one. You definitely have to make sure that you're maintaining the environment, because that's the beauty of the city. You want areas that are maintained well, so that people want to use those areas and get out and play and fish and do all types of stuff. And of course, we want to make sure that flooding is controlled, with that river as well. I've heard a couple of different things from my perspective, but it's good to know that all of that is being managed, and your focus is really on making what you have in Sugar Land as great as it can be. It's good.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. Okay, folks, we have one more commercial break. We are gonna come back, and then we're gonna round up, give some last minute tips and updates and everything. So we will see you soon. everything that I heard today, definitely think we can lawyer you up today. Steve Podcast on the FERGUSON Network. Come get your questions answered. We'll see you then. And remember, the way you explained it is perfect.
Okay, good.
All right, everybody. We are back. We're just gonna pick Mr. Ferguson's brain a little bit. We've gotten so much great information about Sugarland and what's going on in Sugarland. We've also talked about, traffic stops. We talked about crime during the pandemic. We talked about the differences in, different types of officers that you may see. We got so much great information. I want to see if I could squeeze just a little bit of information, last minute, tips and updates about any area that Mr. Ferguson wants to talk about. So, I'll give you the floor for just a minute or two. But before we wrap up, anything else you want to tell the people?
Steve, there's a couple of things that will improve all of our futures for our children, for their children. I think it's very important that every citizen in and around Sugarland, Fort Bend County, Texas, America, the world, we all engage in a in the political system to make sure we have the right leaders in our local communities, in our schools. This is so important. So if you disengage that process, they may not fulfill your visions and plans for your future, for your children, your home.
Yep.
So the first thing is engage the system, because it's a good system, and
Yep.
find the right men and women to lead your community. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to challenge people to do, because we keep going through it in our region. We keep going through disaster after disaster after disaster. And sadly, Steve, most people, not all people, many people, they struggle to be prepared because either they don't want to get prepared or they don't have the means to get prepared. So as you think about what we've lived through in the last 12 months, how can I make my future better by being prepared for what I just went through? These are the things I wish families would ask themselves. You should ask yourself, how do I protect my family by having a case of water, by considering having a generator? Whatever these things are, I really wish our communities would do that. So when we find ourselves in that disaster, we can say, hey, we were partially prepared, better this time than last time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's good that you highlight, the importance of, electing the right type of leaders that are concerned about the things that you care about most and the things that are going to improve the community. I mean, that's very important. We need a lot more civic engagement and people that they take being part of a community very seriously and wanting to be engaged in that and make sure that not only themselves are doing well, but their neighbors are also doing well. And that's how we all succeed.
Yes.
That's how we all thrive, and having everybody, care about everybody, and that, so to speak. So I had a great time, talking to you. I've enjoyed everything that you've had to tell me. Folks, I hope that you have had just as much fun as I have. You probably haven't, because I've been able to talk to him, a lot more. But as you can see, Mr. Ferguson's a great guy. We're so blessed to have him. Thank you so much for joining us, Councilman. We really appreciate your time and your expertise. And we got the cowboy hat back on that I'm going to get pretty soon. So, all right. So, my contact details, if you want to contact me, you can give me a call at 833-529-9748. My website, www.goodmanmcgill.com. I am on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out to me. If you have any questions, legal questions about the show, any feedback you want to give me, definitely feel free to reach out to me on any platform. And as usual, remember, when life gets you down, remember to lawyer up. Thank you, and have a good day, everybody. Lawyer Up with